Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Juan More Thing Podcast. Today's episode is 7 harsh truths to live by to be mentally tougher. So it will be similar to my previous episode. If you have not heard that one yet, please go check it out. That is 7 things that I have been thinking about, and hopefully you can think about as well to help you understand your life, or maybe why certain people do certain things. In that episode, I give my thoughts on those topics, and hopefully as you hear my thoughts, maybe you agree with them, and maybe it's okay to disagree with them, but that's the point, right? Is to start getting you to think, right, about your own opinions and beliefs on the important things. Yes, it's okay to have no opinions on some things, right? But I think those are the important things that we all should have an opinion on, because in a way they kind of guide you in your decision making and the way you are going to represent yourself, I would say, in the world. Yeah. Okay, so for this episode today, it's a little bit more different. Actually, not really. I would say that these are more of like things that I have thought about for a long time already, and have kind of laid the foundation of this is what I believe in, and not so much of I'm still thinking about it. Yeah. But of course, again, it is totally okay if you disagree with some of the points, or you find that you view it in a different way. I think that's the point of conversations, right? It is to hear sides of conversations where you not just always agree with, but you disagree, right? And then you can formulate your own reasoning. Why do you disagree on this, right? And that's how progress is made, right? Through these discussions and all that. So let's get into this. All right. So for this episode, again, I will be talking about 7 things, and these 7 things are the ways or ideas that guide how I do things, right? So I try my best to live by them. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I will mess up here and there, but these are the things that I usually try to do for myself. Yes, when I'm faced with tough decisions, right, I try to think about all these. And for those of you who are or have been coached by me for a period of time, you would then recognize that these are some of the things that always pop back up during my debriefs, or during like my reminders, or those kind of things, right? These are the things I will always try to reinforce and say it again and again and again, because like I said, these are the things that I really hold close to myself, and I always try to instill that in my coaching. And if you're wondering why I do this a lot in my coaching, is because, as I mentioned in my previous podcast, I think with one of the guests, I think it was Astrid, we were talking about interest and passion. I think it was that one. I was mentioning about how, in the area of, I don't believe that we should specialize in a certain thing at a young age, right? We should be able to go out and explore different activities, even those that are not even related to what we are doing currently, right? So in the case where we do that, the real like discipline, technical skills are not going to be transferable, right? So the more transferable things is mental toughness, right? Your character, your values, how you make your decisions, and going through hardships. I think those are the more critical, and I would say priority things that we should be coaching for people at the younger age. So this episode will be a bit more pointed in that sense, because I call them harsh truths, because I think if I were to put myself in the shoes of someone who is not as like ambitious or disciplined yet, I would say, or maybe not too serious about things, it might seem like it's a little bit too harsh or pointed, right? But honestly, I think if you are listening to this, I know you have the maturity and the consciousness to unpack and absorb the truth that it points to, right? And there may be some like ranting going on in this episode. My initial title was, I forgot what my initial title was. I think my initial title was Real Talk. Yeah, like real talk, man. Right. So I think there will be not think. Yeah, there is some ranting going on in this episode, but it's mainly just to get a point through, and I don't really single anything out. But yeah, just excuse some ranting if you do hear it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I hope you will be able to take some insights away and toughen yourself up as you work on yourself and what you are chasing. Let's get into it. First harsh truth to live by. This is number 1. This is what hard feels like. So for me, I can't help but to be in judgment and repulsed by people who admittedly say they want to do what it takes to achieve something and then proceeds to half-ass their way through it, whine and complain, or give up because it is tough, uncomfortable, and hard. Yes, I just really can't. So the problem with these people that I have thought about and I boiled down to this is that they have an entitled mindset and have never had to endure true hardship in any previous attainment. Right? So what I mean by that is that I'll talk about the entitled part later, but what I mean by never had to endure true hardship in any previous attainment, I'm not trying to invalidate like whatever they have achieved so far. You always have people who have achieved things, but I would just say it was not because of them. I think it was more of not handed to them, but it was paved for them, right? So again, whenever I coach, I always remind the dancers that are you great because your teachers are helping you so much and you have a good coach and all of that, or are you great because you yourself have put in the work and you yourself have those qualities that make you get what you get, right? So if let's say you suddenly had a change of coach and this new coach is, let's say, touch wood, very bad at or just new, not experienced. Let's say not bad, okay? New, no experience and still building themselves up, right? So if you were great because of yourself, it would not matter which coach you get or which teacher you get, right? But if you are reliant on the coach or teacher paving the way for you, right? So it is the coach or teacher who is good, or let's say your parents, right, who support you, whatever, right? They are the ones that are doing the work and not you. You are just following along in the path that they have paved, right? You technically did not really endure the proportionate amount of hardships that someone who had the right qualities had to endure, right? Because they would then be the ones that are putting in the extra work. They would be the ones that have to endure all those setbacks and then figure out the game plan going forward, right? Whereas if you were fully reliant on other people like your coach or your teacher, right? The coach and the teachers are the one who is doing the hard work to figure out what the next plan is, right? How to then motivate you again, how to find new opportunities for you to grow, right? So that's the never had to endure true hardship in any previous attainment. So going back to the entitled mindset, I will start off with this. The achievement we seek for does not care whether we live or die. It does not care whether we come from a privileged background or not, and it does not care about what we have achieved before. So training with an entitled mindset looks like this. Air quotes. As long as I put in some work, I will definitely get it. Coach says this is what we have to do, so as long as I do it, it will work out. Or, why is this so hard? I should not need to have to go through this to get what I want. So those are like the common thoughts that I think someone with an entitled mindset will have. So putting in the work and trusting your coach, feeling like all your effort should be enough, those are things that are required. Okay, I'm not saying that those thoughts are wrong. I just think it's the back part that is wrong. So thinking and expecting things to go the way you want to because you have all of those qualities is entitlement, right? Because you think because you have that, you are now entitled to get what you want, right? But it does not entitle you to get what you want, right? Those are just things you have to have. Then if the achievement decides to come, it's going to come. If it does not, it's not going to care whether you have what it takes or you don't have what it takes, right? So I heard this quote, I think it was from the Last Chance You, but I saw in an Instagram reel, it was the coach that was saying like success is not loyal to you, right? I think that was a pretty great quote. Like, it does not care whether you have, worked really 100% of your time and effort in it. Like you're fully loyal to working hard. This success is not gonna be that loyal to you. It could go to someone else, right? So yeah, it's just about having that entitled mindset where as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, I'll get it. As long as I put in 100% of the effort, confirm will get it. Yeah, that's the entitled mindset. So my rule number 1 for myself, okay, when I'm chasing any achievement is that nothing is guaranteed. So you or I can do all the right things the right way and with twice the amount of effort as someone else, but still not get it, right? The other person who gives half the effort could get it and not me, putting in twice the amount of effort. So nothing is guaranteed, right? And then rule number 2 is it takes what it takes, right? And a lot of my students would have heard me say that a lot of times. It takes what it takes. You can think that whatever you have to do is too crazy or too much or too whatever, but it won't change the fact that this is what it takes. So, for all those dancers who are, you trust your coach a lot and, you are really doing all the crazy PTs. At least for me, right? Crazy PTs, and you're doing all these full outs and crazy stunts or choreographies to get what you or the team are aiming for, right? And you think like, oh, this is so crazy, like why do we have to do all of these to get what we want? And I think it's mainly down to it takes what it takes. I would say that any coach that is coaching you would know from their own experience what it took to get them where they are at. So if doing what they did got them to where they are at, then this is what they had to do, and now this is what you have to do if you want to get to where you want to go, right? So it literally is, this is what it takes, or this is what we understand it takes. So rule number 2, it is what it is what it is. Yes too, but it takes what it takes, right? So last one, rule number 3 is suck it up. Told you it's gonna be harsh. Suck it up, man. So not gonna say bottle up your emotions and be a rock, right? Like, keep everything inside. You're angry, frustrated, and then you're just like, okay, just suck it up. No, but I think whatever negativity you have, just suck it up in that moment, right? If you hate the drills, suck it up and be grateful you get to do them. If you hate the coach, suck it up and be grateful that someone is there pushing you forwards, right? You hate the conditions, like, a rainy day, or, it's a holiday, you gotta come back for training. The conditions of when you are doing it, right? Suck it up and be grateful that you get to train still, right? It takes what it takes. So suck it up, just do it, right? If you are really committed and determined to want to do and get what you want to do and get. So this is what hard feels like, right? Working with no guarantee, doing what it takes, even if what it takes is seemingly insane, and sucking up all your negativity. These are the three things that I myself do when I train, right? I mean, I'm not a competitive dancer at this point, but for my running nowadays, right, I run a lot because I'm trying to get that 2400 km by the end of this year, right? There's a lot of times where, I set out to do my like 10K run and I just don't get the 10K. I try my best, but I just don't get the 10K, right? And then, I gotta wake up at 5:30 because I know that it's super hot in the afternoon, so I'm not gonna run in the afternoon. And I have things at night, so I can't run at night. So the only time is in the morning before I start my classes, right? And it's seemingly insane, like, I have to wake up so early to go for a run or go for a long run, right? Like, to hit that amount of mileage, I have to go for sometimes long runs like 20K, which for some people will be like, hey, 20K, that's not a big deal. But I started really running only like last year. So 20K for me now is still like quite tough, right? But it takes what it takes, right? For me to hit that mileage, I gotta do it. And it sucks, so I can't do anything. I just gotta suck it up. And if that is what I really want to achieve, I have to suck it up. It's okay to feel like it's crazy. It's okay to feel like, it's tough. It's almost impossible. But just be aware that that's what you're feeling. Just suck it up and just do it, because that's what it takes, right? And I think lastly on this point, if in the first place, if you did not expect that what you're gonna be doing is hard, then you are delusional. You are delulu. Usually the achievements you try to set out to achieve are gonna be hard, or is gonna be hard, right? Because then it would not be an achievement in the first place. Achievement in itself is something that is worthwhile of being like celebrated and applauded and all of that. So if it is not like challenging, it's not gonna give it that value of being called an achievement. So it is gonna be hard, right? So if you did not expect it to be hard in the first place, you are the lulu. But then on the flip side, okay, so let's say if you knew it was going to be hard, so that's one thing. Okay, so think about this. Oh, now that I think about it, crossover. If you think you understand what hardships are, do you know what it feels like? There will always be tougher hardships to endure. So knowing and feeling are two different things, right? Theory and practical, right? We can understand something but do not know how it feels like. So yeah, we can understand it's going to be a tough journey, but are we prepared for how it's going to feel like when we are on that journey? To sum this whole point up, this is what hard feels like. Your achievement does not care about you. Simple as that. Next one, moving on. Number two, harsh truth to live by: to be mentally tougher. Not everything is an attack. Stop playing a victim. So a bit of a rant as well. Okay, I cannot stand people who always turn any feedback or reminder session as an attack on them. If you perceive every comment or criticism you receive as an attack, please grow some consciousness. Yes. So a lot of times, I think it's natural, we have our egos, in ourselves. No matter how evolved or conscious you are, the ego will always be there. I think it's a natural human thing to have. But, knowing and being aware when your ego is in control, and whether it is part of your safety to have that ego there or part of you just being insecure, I think that is very, very important. If you really want to know more about this whole ego, thing and understand what the ego really is, I would suggest you to go back to episode, I think it's 2, How to Live a Simple Life. I know it's a very long episode. You can go to YouTube. I have time-stamped all the different chapters or points in there. Find the ones with the ego, and then you can kind of understand more about that. But yeah, so not everything is an attack, right? I would say an argument can be made for people who are giving you feedback or like criticizing you, those people who are like, 24/7 just hostile people and aggressive, they're always very rude and all that, right? And it the way that they will say like, oh yeah, this, clearly it seems like an attack. But honestly, if we are truly conscious, I would say that we wouldn't even see it as an attack, because we would then understand and realize that they are not so much conveying what we are, but they are more of conveying themselves in the way that they are saying whatever it is they're saying, right? So I can mostly only speak for myself in that, like, if I were to point out something in terms of a feedback or criticism, it is an objective observation that resulted from what I have seen you do. Okay? So if I were to say something, it is based on evidence that you did. Yes. Okay. I would say 99% of the time. Okay. I would say I'm not perfect. Sometimes I would revert to that unconscious, assumptions and all of that. But for the better part of coaching, I would say I'm very conscious of the things that I point out, because I understand that kids and youth at that age are very impressionable, right? The things you say really, really matter. And if we just should not assume things and just say. We need to at least try to make sure we have the right facts before we give any feedback or criticism, right? So every time that I give a feedback or criticism when I coach, it's always a long thought process before it. It either has to be a very clear evidence, or it's something that I have observed and gathered evidence for over a few sessions. So for example, when I say you are not giving your best, right? Like when I give a feedback overall, some of you are not giving your best, right? It is not like a general like, oh, I just think if I say this, it's going to motivate y'all. But like I literally saw you just take the conditioning easy, right? Like you didn't even try to do your crunches properly. You didn't even try to do your push-ups properly or your lunges, right? You were just like floating your way through or just like autopilot your way through. I didn't see you taking it seriously. So obviously you're not giving your best, right? I see you not pushing in your stretches, correct? The way you stretch is so relaxed. If you really stretch, you would feel that tension in your muscles, and that if you have really, for those who really stretch, know that it is not as comfortable, right? So you would be in some sort of uncomfort as you really stretch, get a deep stretch, right? But this person was super relaxed throughout the whole stretching segment, right? Next one, you're not dead after a full out. That's another way I know you've not given your best, right? If after you full out, you can talk normally with a normal cadence and normal breathing, you have not exerted yourself enough to call it a full out. So you are definitely not giving your best, right? Then another one that I will do is you have to do extra PT because you did not meet the time. So I just started this recently with my dancers. So they will have to run and they have to cross a certain, I'll make a certain number of rounds within this amount of time given, just to train their stamina and help them to just feel more confident with their physical conditioning, right? So if they don't meet that time, they have to do like 50 burpees. And again, my punishment is still helping them in their physical capabilities. So again, I would tell them, you did not give, you did not cross the line under this certain time, so you have to do this punishment that I said, right? And it's not an attack, it is a fact, right? I mentioned that if you did not cross this number of rounds, finish the number of rounds within this time, you have to do that punishment, 50 burpees, right? So it's not an attack, it's a fact. You did not pass through it at this time, so you have to do the punishment, right? Or even like in certain PTs, you did not do it properly, so you have to do it again, right? You got to do your crunches again because, you did not take it seriously. Or you have to do your lunges again because you did not do it seriously, right? And it's not because you don't know how to do it properly, because I know that I have done my due diligence in going through how to do the correct form, right? You gotta lift your shoulders up, you gotta extend, you gotta bend your knees 90 degrees, right? So on top of that, I also mentioned that, okay, it is tough, I understand that, but if you are not able to properly execute it, at least put in your maximum effort, right? As long as you push 100% of the way throughout the exercise, it is still fine. I would give it to you, right? But I saw you cheat your way through it from the start, right? And it's not even with the exertion that has that 100% effort. If you can read body language, effort is a very easy thing to read. Like, facial cues cannot be hidden if you are really pushing your max. And number two, you would be out of breath because it's conditioning, right? So from body language, you can tell if you are pushing 100%, right? So all of these are things that I think if you are a bit more unconscious, you would always see them as an attack. Like, oh, I gonna call out, hey, this person don't like me because blah 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 is an attack, right? So it's not an attack. Don't be a victim. It is literally a fact that is what happened, right? So I guess for these kind of situations, I would say, change your immediate response from this is an attack and I need to defend myself to ask yourself this question immediately as, is this what really happened? Let me honestly think. So if it is hard to ask yourself that question in the moment, then I would just say start to just be aware that this is an attack. I need to defend is the response that you are eliciting at the moment, right? So consciousness, the first step of consciousness is to be aware, right? To be conscious of the natural things that you would do. So if your natural response is I'm under attack, I need to defend myself, and I need to look at this person as a hostile threat, just be aware that is what you're thinking. And slowly you will be able to control that response, and then you can change it into whatever you want to change it to, right? And I suggest that you ask yourself, is this person and what they are saying what really happened? Is this a fact, right? So now let me honestly think, right, without putting myself as a bias, and think, is this what really happened? Then you will be able to think more rationally and not see it as an attack, but just more of whoever it is stating the facts, right? So again, the easiest fact I can state is that if you don't make it around these many rounds in this time, you gotta do more PT. The stopwatch is a fact that if you made it under, then you made it. If it's over the time, the stopwatch says it's over the time. It's a fact, right? So you can only feel attacked if you believe and accept that you are being attacked. So you just gotta discern real attacks from consequences or objective feedback, right? I would say that there are genuine like attacks, like verbal attacks. Okay, I'm not talking about like physical attacks. That's different, right? But going back to the top again, if you are able to really be conscious, you would then see those attacks not personally, but more of them conveying whatever it is about them to you. Yeah. So that is number 2. Not everything is an attack. Stop playing the victim. Alright, let's move on. Next one. Number 3. Oh, this one is a good one. Be serious about the boring stuff. If you cannot be serious about the boring stuff, I will not trust you to be good at the fun stuff. Because to be good at the fun stuff, you have to spend a majority of your time doing the boring stuff. And I think it is very easy for seasoned dancers to understand this point. Basics is boring, but it is gonna make the fun stuff, like your choreography, better. Simple as that. So to go a little bit deeper in this, I will make this short because I think it's pretty easy to understand. One metric I use to judge my dancers that has year after year been absolutely 100% on the dot reliable in predicting their potential is how seriously do they take their warm-up and stretching. We oftentimes say that basics are the boring part of dance. I say it's the warm-up and stretching that is even more boring. What I specifically observe during the stretching and warm-up, I won't explicitly say because that is for me to know. But if you are smart and logical enough, you should be able to figure out what I look for and what I'm looking out for during those sections of training. You may ask why warm-up and stretching? Well, other than it being boring, so that boring part represents the mental maturity and presence, quality of the dancer or the athlete, right? It brings an individual through the markers that indicates their physical ability. So relative stamina through warm-up. Again, not everybody's warm-up is the same. My warm-up is about 3 to 4 minutes long. So yes, it shows their stamina, the mobility and body awareness, basic strength, pain tolerance, ability to observe and replicate, memory of the routine, etc. All these can be seen through stretching. And all these things are key markers in the athlete's ability to then be good at the skill, dance, right? So bringing it back to the boring stuff in general, these usually comprise of the technical skills, right? So you got isolations, rhythm, coordination, etc. In running, you got long, slow runs, recovery runs, foam rolling, etc. Right? So all these are the extremely time-consuming and not as fun as dancing on stage or going for personal best for your runs, right? These are the things that must be done in order to execute the fun parts well, and that's why mental maturity separates the best from the average. So those who are more mentally mature know how to take the boring stuff more seriously. And if you want to start developing yourself more mentally in a mature way, start by taking the boring stuff seriously, because it takes some kind of maturity to understand that sometimes you have to do the things which are not as fun. And I think one other skill that you can try to develop, and I just heard this recently in another podcast, is that it is a skill to learn how to make something enjoyable. So not by changing what you are doing or how you are doing it, but just by the way you perceive it and the way that you focus on certain things. It is a skill to make something more enjoyable. So yes, that's number 3. Be serious about the boring stuff. Number 4, let's move on. 4th harsh truth to live by, and this is something that is very applicable to various aspects of life. But again, I think the easiest way to understand it first is just in the easiest team that you can imagine yourself in, whether it's a dance team or whatever team you're in. So number 4 is what it means to be part of a team. So I will start with this. First and foremost, I believe that there is a distinction between an individual who is in a team and an individual who is part of the team. Just because you are in a team does not automatically make you a part of the team. Whether it boils down to the individual not truly committing to the team or the team still needing time to fully integrate them in, being in versus being a part of the team is not the same. So again, in versus part of. I can be in Singapore, but I am not part of Singapore. Okay, that's a very bad analogy, but I think you're trying to you get what I'm trying to get at. You get what I'm trying to say. Yes. Sorry, my brain suddenly blocked. But yeah, let's say now that you are part of a team. Okay, so you're not just in the team, you are now part of the team. Right? What does that actually mean? Think about it. Okay, so another crossover. Think about it. What does it actually mean to be part of a team? I would believe everyone has a different perspective and expectations to be part of a team, but here's mine, real talk. Okay, so I got four examples that I'm going to give. Okay, first thing that it means to actually be part of a team is that everyone has a role. Okay, that role dictates the job you need to do, and it is your duty to get the job done the way it should be done. That is the first requirement of being in a team. You have a role. That role tells you what your job is, and you have to then do that job exactly how it should be done so that the team can move forward. Number 2, the team comes first as long as it is just. It's not about putting the team before ourselves. It is also... Okay, wait, no, I said that wrong. Ruined the moment. It's not just about putting the team before ourselves, but also whatever clique or group of friends that we have within the team. So, team, then you and everyone else. Always. As long as it is a just cause. So again, if let's say you're ruled by a tyrant and whatever, and they ask you to do like this immoral thing, and then your friends are like, no, we shouldn't do that because it's immoral. Of course, yes, put your friends over that, because I think there's a balance between it. But as long as it is towards the goal that the team has set out for, and it is in a way that is just, team always comes first, right? It comes first even before yourself or before your friends or click in your friends. So let's say, for example, okay, I'll give some examples. If our friends are asking us to put their interests before the team's, is that something that you can live with? If it is, then that is something you must accept for yourself, right? And be upfront about it. Right, but I believe that it should not be. For example, your friend says, "Oh, you gotta skip prac because a bunch of us are going to this event and you should join us." Or, "We don't think that member is nice. We heard this about that member. We don't like that person. We think that they are blah 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 blah." Right? Don't you think so? Right? You should agree with us. So I view any team, right, as a separate entity outside our own personal lives. So, for example, there is me, other members, and then the team is a separate thing in itself. Okay, I don't know if that helps in the visualization aspect, but yeah, it is an independent thing by itself. And it needs to be protected and void of anything personal. Anything personal we can deal with out of the team, with whoever is involved, but be mature, be professional, and don't bring it in where it'll infect and kill the team. So the team always comes first. That's my second point. Third, everyone is on the same team. I don't get inter-team beef. So I think this is more prevalent in like younger teams. And when I say younger, I mean it both in the term of a young, just formed team, even if it's like adults or kids or whatever, and also in that age where it is a young age group team, right? You get a lot of inter-team beef. That means you get a lot of, was it intra-team? Basically within the team. Yeah, within the team, okay? I forgot, is it inter or intra? But yeah, you get a lot of like unhealthy competitiveness, or you get a lot of like negative kind of like negative friction between teammates, let's say. So my logic is, what do you gain from hating someone else? Or what does the team gain from someone not liking someone? As a coach, what do I help the team gain if I don't like some players or members? As a player or member, what do I gain if I don't like the coach? Or if I don't like a certain drill or a certain call that was made, right? So all the previously mentioned questions is fueled by emotion and a lack of maturity, basically the ego. We all want to succeed. We all want to see each other succeed, albeit in and through different ways. But how does any kind of negativity help you succeed? So I get this, not I get this a lot, but I think about this a lot, where why do certain, members not like, let's say, the coach, right? I'm not saying myself, okay? But just in general, like why, maybe as a coach, why would, okay, no, let me rephrase. Sorry, my head is like everywhere. Okay, so if I think that my coach doesn't like me, right, as a member of the team, correct? I don't know. My logical mind would straight away just ask me, what does the coach get from that? Like, how does it benefit them? And then how does it benefit the coach helping the team succeed? So it's trying to understand the motivation behind the beef or the negative emotion. Right? I think if we dive deeper into that meta question of, okay, how, if I think this, and if it's true, how does this then help that person? Right? It just doesn't make sense. But yeah. So I just think everyone is on the same team. I think that is something that's very, very, very important. And what it means to be part of a team. Right? And last one, this is also very important. All very important. Transparency regarding any team things. This is what's important in being a team. I will trust you as much as you tell the team. Every member is accountable to each other. Every member is responsible for their actions and decisions. And every member needs to earn and maintain their teammates' trust always. I honestly think that every member should share whatever news they have with the team and not just the coach or the teacher. Of course, sensitive and private things can be phrased more delicately, but it shows the respect you have for your teammates to communicate and establish an understanding. Not only that, but it shows everyone how important the team is to you, that despite whatever it is, you are still thinking of the team and trust the team with your news. And I think this was what was the norm when I was like a young dancer, right? I think now privacy has become a whole, and to be fair, it is an important issue, but I think it's just gone too much into that whole, private things should not be shared. To explain what I mean, it's more of like, if simple things like, oh, I cannot come for prac because I'm sick, right? Like, those are things that are not like super private, right? Just share it with the team, right? And then just say, sorry guys, I can't come for prep because I'm sick, rather than you only tell like one person. Like, yes, you have to tell the coach and the teachers and everything, but I view your teammates as being more important to tell as well, because they are the ones who are with you when you are playing on the field or you are dancing on stage. You need their trust, right? Because if you don't show up, people are going to speculate. Oh, is it because they just decided to skip? Especially if you have that reputation, right? And if you're truly sick, they will just assume you are playing truant, right? So transparency is so important in a team. And yeah, I just wish that whole like transparency could be more could be done more, basically. Yeah. So I can go on and on about what other things that I feel really mean to be part of a team, but the gist of it is that being a part of a team is more than just doing whatever discipline it is. It is like signing a contract that has tens and hundreds of clauses indicating the need for a lot of unquantifiable aspects, like your time, your privacy, your trust, etc., etc. Those are things that you can't quantify, right? So being a team is all of that, right? So this is what I feel. This is my harsh truth. What does being a part of a team mean for you? Think about it. Okay, moving on. Next one. Number 5. Number 5 is titled, You Are Imposing Limits with No Evidence. So this one, it's a lot to do with trying versus not even trying. It is not that we know we cannot do it. It is that we think we cannot do it. Most of the time when we are faced with a challenging task, especially one that we have not undertaken before, we shy away from it, thinking that we will not succeed in overcoming it. But if we have not done it before, how can we know that we cannot overcome it? Even if we had been through a similar experience before and did not succeed or overcome it, we are no longer in the same position as we were back then, because by virtue of going through and learning from that experience, we now have more experience and knowledge at this moment, and that can make the difference. So the limits that we impose on ourselves have no hard evidence. They are substantial at best. Take for example, okay, do you think that you can run a half marathon, or do you know you cannot know for a fact you cannot run a half marathon? Do you think, or do you know it? Right? So only if you have tried would you then know for sure you cannot run a half marathon. Right? And if you do not succeed the first time, so you try it once and then after that you know, okay, I cannot, right? You would have built a bit of confidence that you are not worthless. Maybe you ran 3/4 of the way, you jogged 3/4 of the way, and then you just walked the last quarter, right? So yes, you did not manage to run the half marathon, but you could complete the half marathon, right? So the next time you try again, the more likely you will do better, because you know kind of what it feels like, you know, like the atmosphere, you know what it's going to take. The chances of succeeding then is going to be greater. So why do we think more than we know? 3 reasons. First one, I believe it has to do with living vicariously through other people's failures or bad examples. If you don't know what vicarious means, it means that we visualize ourselves as other people's as they are doing whatever they're doing. Loosely, you can go and find a definition online. So we adopt the understanding of what it will be like to do something based on the people around us. And unless you are constantly around high achieving people, what you are adopting is the mindset and understanding of either average or underperforming people. Yes. So if the people you are around with are average and you want to chase something that's really, really great, right? By virtue of visualizing yourself in your surrounding, your environment of average people, they are definitely not going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve because they are average. What you want to achieve is amazing, right? So based on what you see, you think you cannot because no one else has done it. Compared to if someone who is around, now got Olympics, right? Those of us who are around Olympic people, right, seeing them achieve so much greater things, we are more inclined to then try to do better because we see that it is possible. So, next one. Secondly, thinking is easier than doing, and neuroscience points towards the similarities in the reward and satisfaction feeling between thinking and doing. What we think will become what we believe because our brain gets a similar response. So recently, I have been hearing about this a lot, where what you say can be interchanged with doing it. So we get the same kind of response in our body and what we feel just by saying something, saying what we are planning to do, and actually doing it. So our body believes that it is similar, or we get the same kind of response, something like that. Okay, so by saying that I cannot run a half marathon, our body just believes that we have ran a half marathon and we can't do it. Right? And thinking is always easier than doing because thinking, you can just think like that. But doing, you have to actually go and do it. And lastly, we live in an era of information abundance where theory is overpowering practical. What we learn is information, but does not go through the process of testing to become factual evidence. There are three truths in this world: political, objective, and personal truths. So you have to think, what are those? If you don't know, check out my previous episode with Calvin. We go into detail about these different truths, and of these truths, which ones can you adopt and which ones must you test out for yourself so you can create your own evidence, right? I'll give you a hint that things that have been tested before that are not like related to you at all, like gravity, you don't have to test that. That is a fact, right? But things that concern you and your abilities, those are the things that you need to test. So I have this conditioning set I use in dance training called M100. So I got it from my seniors back in my dance club, and it consists basically of 10 burpees, 10 mountain climbers, and 10 squat jumps, repeated 3 sets, and capped off with another 10 burpees, so 100 reps in total. If I asked you right now, would you be able to do this M100 set within 3 minutes? Do you think you can do it, or do you know that you can do it? Or on the other hand, do you think you cannot do it, or do you know you cannot do it? Right? I mean, take aside the choice of having the choice of doing it or not. Okay, you have to do it, right? In a world where you are going to do it, I give you 3 minutes. Do you think you cannot do it, or do you know you cannot do it? Right? Only if you have tried before will you be able to say, I know I cannot do it, or I know I can do it. But if you have not tried before, the best you can do is say you think you cannot do it, or I think I cannot do it. So the worst thing that can happen is you think you cannot do it and you end up not doing it, and that affects your own confidence towards yourself because you have just told and convinced yourself with no evidence that you cannot do it, which your mind then infers that, oh, you are worthless and you have no courage to even try. Because you don't know, you just think, but you're not even going to try. So obviously you have no courage. And because your body believes that you have done it by thinking, you get the same response, right? As I mentioned just now, right? It would then think that, oh, I cannot do it, so I'm worthless, right? Now let's play out the other scenario. On the flip side is if you know that you have no idea if you can or cannot, right? You understand that you only think that you cannot, but you know that you don't know, right? So you try it out, right? And even if you do not succeed, you have at least managed to do maybe half or 3/4 of it in a given time, 3 minutes. And instead of feeling totally useless, you have no courage, you feel a little bit useful that at least you did what you could manage to do, half or 3/4 of it. And you had the courage to try, even though you had no idea, right? So even if you did not succeed, you will get these positive results, right? You are at least worth this amount that you have completed, right? And you at least had the courage and confidence, courage to try something, right? And then if it means something to you, if completing this means something to you, you are closer to succeeding because through trying, you have credible and useful information to help you prepare for your next attempt. And in this case, if it's a physical thing, your body got stronger from doing the reps, right? Burpees, your muscles got stronger, mountain climbers, squat jumps, etc., right? So you're going to be closer to succeeding the next time you try it, right? And then you then understand, okay, I got to work on this certain conditioning so I can do this better. I got to work on my stamina so I can last longer, etc. You have more knowledge at this point. So basically, what limits are you imposing on yourself with no evidence? You don't protect yourself from embarrassment by not succeeding when you try. You actually harm yourself and your confidence. So you are imposing limits with no evidence. That is a harsh truth that we should not live by. Yeah, we should just believe. Yes. Okay, let's move on. We're almost there. 2 more points. I'll make this quick. Number 6. This harsh truth is, why are you insulted by other people's hard work? The number of people I've come across or observed who take other people's efforts and achievements personally is so concerning, right? So what I mean when I say they take it personally is they feel like someone else's effort is an attack on their self-worth or their being. So how does this manifest is they feel the need to verbalize their feeling of inadequacy by either pulling the other person down or self-soothing. It can be negative comments or thoughts aimed at them, right? Like, oh, they achieved this only because of this, or telling themselves everything else they are better at than them, right? Or finding a belonging with others who also share the same sentiments. For example, right? Oh, this person is good at this, but I'm better at this other thing, so it's fine, right? Or I just find other people who agree, like, hey, this person not as great as this, or they only got this because of this. Try to downplay their achievements because they are feeling inadequate, right? So this is how being insulted by other people's hard work manifests as. So why are these people insulted by other people's hard work? The simple answer is because it shines a light on their own lack of effort and it makes them feel inadequate, as I mentioned just now. Or in other words, those who are putting in their best is doing and achieving the things they wish they did. It is then easier to be in denial or be a victim than to put in the work. easier to be a keyboard warrior or a commentator than to do the work to achieve what they have achieved, which is what we want to achieve, right? So for those of you who are putting in the work and the effort and maybe face people like these who are constantly giving you shade or bad energy for trying your best, just keep going. They are just trying to pull you down and make you feel as inadequate as they feel, so that, they don't feel as inadequate, right? If everyone feels the same way I do, then it's normal, right? So just keep going. Don't care about them, right? People will make you feel insecure when you're trying. People will still make you feel insecure when you've made it, but you will make yourself feel insecure if you don't even try. Choose your self-worth over external worth. There will always be haters or keyboard warriors or commentators at any point in your journey, whether it is you are trying, whether it is you have made it, or even if you are not even trying. There will always be people with a lot of things to say. But let's refocus and then think of, what are you saying to yourself, or what will you say to yourself? What will you say to yourself if you don't even try? What will you say to yourself if you are trying? What will you say to yourself when you've made it? Though that is more important, what you say to yourself. And then for those of you who are constantly commenting on other people's efforts, taking their progress and growth as a personal attack on your self-worth and feeling inadequate, start focusing on your own effort. Your opinion of others will not change your objective position, only your self-biased position. You pointing out that they have done this because of this will not change the fact that you have not done that. You invalidating whatever achievements that they have done will not change the fact that you have no achievements. That's the truth, harsh truth. The only way to overcome your feeling of inadequacy towards whatever other people do is to become more competent at whatever it is you are doing. Truth be told, your opinions show more of who you are than who the other person is. So stop talking, just start doing. Combat that feeling of inadequacy with adequacy. The problem is the way. You have to just recognize that you are doing all of this for whatever reason. I mean, not saying that inadequacy is the only reason, but it is the most logical reason I can think of. And if you want to feel less inadequate, then be more adequate, right? So focus on your own effort. Okay, you cannot feel more adequate by making other people feel as inadequate as you. Yeah, just focus on yourself. And that's number 6. Why are you insulted by other people's hard work? And we have come to the last one, number 7. Why are you ashamed or offended by people's comments? Something similar to the other point of not everything is an attack. But maybe the point that's not bringing it across, so let me just get into it. So this one by far is going to sound the harshest. Here it goes. I have no respect for you if you are not working on what you don't like about yourself and take offense and feel ashamed at people pointing out whatever it is that you are insecure or ashamed about. There are a few layers to this, so before you take this out of context, understand the layers. Okay, so don't just crop that quote and then just say that this is what I mean. Let me explain. Firstly, there are things that can be worked on and things that can't. For example, things that usually make people insecure that can be worked on are things like weight, fitness, skills, self-worth, status, etc. Those are things that can be worked on. Things that might make someone insecure but can't be as easily worked on or at all are things like genetic traits, disabilities, health conditions, environment, etc. Okay, so two different things, all right? Okay, so I'll take weight as an example of things that can be worked on. If being overweight or underweight is making you insecure, then do something about it. Someone calling you out for being over or underweight, yes, it is insensitive, but it is a fact. Just as I mentioned above, right? You are mad at people pointing out a fact. You are taking it as an attack. Why are you offended? And why are you ashamed? So why are you mad at the fact? It is telling you that you don't want to be over or underweight. So that is what you should take from that, right? If you have not had an opinion about it yet. Now again, let me move on some more, okay? Secondly, are you working on it or not? What I mean by working on it is this. So work on accepting yourself as is, or work on getting yourself to a place you want to be at. So again, using the same weight example, if you are fully secure with the way you are and truly accept yourself, people calling you out on it as over or underweight will not offend you the same way or make you feel ashamed, because you know it is a fact and you are okay with it. Correct? Like, yeah, if I accept myself as being over or underweight, then I have no issues with it. I would not be offended by people pointing it out. So if I am offended or ashamed and I say that I have accepted it, then I need to work more on that, or then just dive in and try to unpack, is this something that I'm really okay with? And if I'm not okay, then do something to bring you to a place where you're okay with it. Right? So if you are working on it, right, and I lost my train of thought. So to clarify, okay, I have no issues with plus size or minus size. I don't know if that's what it's called. As long as you love yourself and you don't take your weight or image insecurities on the whole world, I have no issues. Yeah, I'm not like you have to be a certain, like, most of you think because I look very fit and I do a lot of fitness, I only respect people who are fit. No, I respect you if you love yourself. That's it, right? I will not respect you if you want to be fit but you are not fit, and then you hate everyone for calling you not fit. Like, hello. Yeah, I will not respect that, right? So on the other hand, if you are not happy with the way that you look or weigh and are taking committed steps to get to where you want to be, you definitely will be respected by whoever that matters to you, right? So to be honest, no one is really that matters is going to tell you that or call you out for being over or underweight if they know you are working on it, right? Plus, you will no longer be as affected by other people calling you out because you have accepted that it is a problem. You are not offended by people pointing out the fact because it is a fact that you accept, and that is why you are taking the steps to get to where you want to be. Does that make sense? Right? So you have accepted that that is a problem. Like, again, over underweight, you know that is a problem. People that are going to call you out for it, it's not going to affect you as much because you know it is a fact, right? That is where you were, and now you are doing something to help yourself, right? So chances are you will not take offense or you will not be ashamed. You can't work on a problem you never accepted was a problem. So again, the point that I made might sound harsh, but if you understand the logic of why I say it that way, yeah, it's more understandable, right? And lastly, thirdly, shame is something only you can make yourself feel, right? So being offended is something only you can incite within yourself. If you have accepted yourself as you are and are taking steps to work on it, there is nothing to be ashamed about or offended with. If you are either of those, something is not aligned within yourself. Whatever people say may or may not be true, but if you know your own truth, what your own truth is, you are in control. Know what you are ashamed about, what you accept about yourself, what you are working on, and what you need to do. If you want people to accept you for who you are, as you are, then you need to do the same for yourself, right? If you do not accept yourself for who you are and as you are, right, it does not really matter what people think. Everyone can accept you as is, but if you don't accept yourself, you always feel the shame and take offense at the littlest things. If you keep doing that, no one will want to be with you. Real talk, facts. Right? So it's not that I have no respect for people who are insecure or ashamed. It's just more of those that don't do anything about it and then hate the world for when things happen and then it gets pointed out that this is the thing that is not say wrong with you, but just not what, yeah, you get what I'm trying to say, right? So yeah, harsh truth is, if you are ashamed or offended by people's comments, it shows more about yourself than the other person, and it is something that you need to work on and not take it out on the world, because yeah, it's just not pretty. Yeah, so I will say there's more into all of these 7 things as I have just mentioned, but yeah, these are my 7 harsh truths that I have used to make myself mentally tougher, right? So just a quick like recap, and then maybe like a application of how I use it. Number 1 was, this is what hard feels like. So whenever I'm doing something tough that I don't want to do or I don't have the mood for, right, I just tell myself that this is what hard feels like, and it is what it is. It takes what it takes, and I just gotta suck it up, because if what I want is on the other side of this, then this must be what hard feels like, because I knew from the start it wasn't going to be easy, right? And then the second one is, not everything is an attack, so stop playing a victim, right? So again, how I apply this in my life is, whatever feedback that I get is not like, it's just not an attack, right? It usually is something that has happened, and it objectively is neither good nor bad. It is just a fact, and I need to either learn from it or maybe just ignore it or something, right? It's just not an attack. I just either learn from it or let it go, right? If I'm a victim, I will never grow. Yeah. If I'm a victim, I can only escape. Yeah. So not everything is an attack. Stop playing a victim. Number 3, be serious about the boring stuff. I think this is just the the important way of how to get good at what you want to do, right? So I try to use the awareness of boredom as an indicator of, this is probably the thing that I should be doing, and then I gotta take it seriously, right? So if, let's say, like for example, this podcasting, right, is super boring to edit my videos, and it's boring to type out my script and everything, but these are the things that make the podcast possible, right? I gotta do it. So yeah, and it is ultimately the quality of it, right? If I am not serious about writing my script or thinking about things to talk about, or going through the entire video to make sure the cuts are, just nice, then it's not going to be as great. I'm not saying that this is a great podcast at the moment, but it won't be as it is right now. Yeah, it'll be worse. Right. And number 4, what it means to be part of a team. I've been in a privileged position to be part of some great teams. And I don't know for a fact, but I would like to assume that I've always been a great team member. If you've been a team with me, let me know if I've not been a great team member. But I've, I mean, I would say I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm very self-critical. So I always make it a point to be a very great team player, right? And this is the things that I mentioned just now is what I have done for myself to ensure or try my best to be the best team player that I can be, right? So everyone has a role, know your job. The team always comes first, even if you have plans, even if you have emergencies, even if whatever it is always easier to inconvenience yourself than to inconvenience the team, right? And then we're all on the same team, right? I might have jealousy of this person, like, oh, they're so great and they have achieved the things I want to achieve. But if we're in the same team, I want to see you win and you want to see me win, because if we win, the team wins, right? What does the team get if I hate you? What does the team get if you hate me? What does the team get if I hate the coach, etc.? Right? We're all on the same team. We should be helping each other, despite our differences, despite whatever it is, right? And last one is transparency. I always try to be as transparent as I can, right? If I cannot make it for a certain reason, I will say the truth, the reason why. And then of course I would try to supplement that with like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do to try to make up for it, right? So I don't have the entitled mindset that, oh, because I say the truth, it should be accepted, right? I still know that it is missing rehearsal is bad, right? So I'm not entitled to the idea that it is okay as long as I tell my reason, right? So just be transparent, right? So number 5 is imposing limits with no evidence, right? So every time I try something new, like for example, this podcast, right? I'm not saying that I know it won't be successful, but yeah, I'm just gonna try it. I have no evidence. I've never done a podcast before, so I don't know how it's gonna be. I just think that it's not gonna be successful because, I don't even, now that I think about it, I don't even know why I think it's gonna be unsuccessful. But yeah, so I had no evidence, right? So when you try things that you have never done before or you are challenged, right? It's just a matter of, is there evidence, right? If I don't try, the only thing I'm going to do is harm my own confidence and my own belief in myself. Number 6, why are you insulted by other people's hard work? I think this is something that I struggle with for a very long time. I used to be a very competitive person. I think I still am, right? So I don't like to see other people, I'm just more jealous when I see other people succeed, right? And it makes me feel like what I said just now, it makes me feel inadequate. It makes me feel like I did not try my best, right? So I struggled with that for a long time by trying to, I would say not publicly, but in my own head, invalidate other people's hard work. Be like, oh, it's because of this, because they had this connection, or because they had this blah 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 blah, right? But at the end of the day, the harsh truth is, I just need to put in more effort, and I just need to focus on doing what I need to do to make myself feel more adequate and more confident of myself. Yeah. So that's harsh truth. Number 6. And last one, number 7, why are you ashamed or offended by people's comments? Yeah, I mean, nowadays I don't get much comments because I am not as into the whole social media stuff. I try to be a little bit more private. But yeah, I used to be ashamed or offended by some comments, but I think that just points more to what I feel about myself than what people tell me, right? So I don't retaliate and start a little argument about what this person has said about what I know is my insecurity, right? I know that the solution is I have to work on my own insecurities. And the reason I feel ashamed or offended is because those are my insecurities. And I should not take that out on people who are pointing it out. Yes, truth be told, it's in a more insensitive way, right? But the fact is that is a fact. Yeah, so why are you ashamed or offended by people's comments? And yes, so that sums up this episode. Hope that you liked it. I don't know. But yes, thank you so much for listening. I would apologize if this podcast sounds a little bit weird or not as great as others. Yeah, I'm just not having a great period right now. But again, this is what heart feels like. I just still need to do and record my podcast to keep it consistent. And I think through it, actually, I enjoyed the process, even though it's not something that I was motivated to do. But yeah, this is what heart feels like. At the end of it, I managed to record my podcast. It did not suck terribly. And yeah, I'm mentally tougher after going through this. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening, and please continue to support my channel. I'm doing my best to get better at it, and hopefully it gets great soon enough. But at this point, thank you so much for supporting, and please help to like, share, and follow the show for more. Thank you, and have a good day, weekend, night, morning, whatever it is. Peace.